showed my girlfriend a song for us to use in the bedroom and now she needs it to finish. My girlfriend and I have always shared a passion for music. We're both avid listeners, constantly seeking out new tunes and exploring different genres. Naturally we bang to music. One day, in an attempt to add a bit of flair to our romantic encounters, I decided to introduce her to a specific indie song that was on my Spotify daily mix. The song had that romantic indie vibe and the lyrics are about spontaneous hookups, so it seemed like a cool fit for a bedroom playlist. At first, it seemed like a brilliant idea. She loved the song and I already liked it, so we tried getting it on. As we turned up the volume and let the music envelop us, something magical happened. The rhythm, the echo of the guitar riffs, and the distorted lyrics seemed to synchronize perfectly with our movements. It was like the song was tailor-made for our passionate moments. Well, she really enjoyed this and somewhat erupted quite quickly midway. I kind of thought that was awesome, at the time. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent act of musical experimentation would spiral into an unexpected dependence. As time went on, my girlfriend started to rely on the song to finish it all. Not only did she insist on playing it each time we did the deed, but she also felt the need to wear headphones, ensuring she could hear the song's vibrations from the bass. She needed the headphones to fully immerse herself in the experience, and without them, reaching the pinnacle became an insurmountable challenge. It seemed that the song had become an essential ingredient, a bizarre but necessary addition to our bedroom escapades. To say this was a shock would be an understatement. Initially, I found it endearing that we had discovered such a unique way to connect through music. However, the situation soon became a bit too intense. Now, you might be wondering why this is such a problem to me. Well, it kills spontaneity. And makes me feel pretty unnecessary. Picture this, we're in the heat of the moment, things are getting steamy, and suddenly my girlfriend pauses, reaches for her headphones, and carefully places them on her ears before listening to another man and completely ignoring me while she finishes. It's a buzzkill, to say the least. Moreover, it's become a logistical nightmare. We've had instances where we're scrambling to find the headphones amidst the tangled sheets, desperately trying not to lose momentum. It's like a game of musical hide and seek, but instead of finding your partner, you're searching for a pair of headphones. Don't get me wrong, I love my girlfriend, and our connection is more than just this peculiar quirk. But, I can't help but feel a bit overwhelmed by the unexpected reliance on this song. It's taken our intimate moments into weird uncharted territory, and I'm not entirely sure how to navigate it. What is the most horrible thing someone has done to you, and how did you get back at them? My fiancée left me due to my cancer diagnosis. We dated for 4 years and had what I thought was a great relationship. Her daughter was 11 and mine was 16 when we met. We had actually planned to get married, build a house, and raise the two together. We planned the house build because she had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually put her in a wheelchair, and needs something ADA-friendly. During the planning stages, I began doing landscape and construction projects on her home to increase the resale value. All in, I invested roughly $30,000 into the home, running everything through my side construction business for tax, permitting, and resale purposes. We had a contract that payment would be made upon the sale of the home. I produced invoices for each and every project, but never pushed for payment because of the prior agreement. Fast forward 6 months, we're looking at property to develop and finalizing drawings on the home when I began feeling ill. I couldn't eat, constantly vomiting and passing blood. I began noticing that my abdomen looked swollen, which was odd because we were both very clean eaters and were in the gym every day. So I went to the doctor and began having tests done. During this time, she began having small cognitive issues, and the stress of her current position was exacerbating her condition, so she took a $20,000 per annum cut in pay along with a lesser position inside the company. After a month or so of different tests, and a biopsy, it came back that I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach, and would need to begin chemotherapy. So I began chemo and radiation treatments, which made me extremely ill. She was spending time helping around my place on the weekends and staying over more, to the point that they were both at my home, more than theirs. At this point, I suggested that we go ahead and put one of our houses on the market, and move in together until the new house was built. I have great supplemental insurance as well as a long-term illness plan, so using that coupled with the sale of one of our houses would push us through comfortably, and help ease the financial stress on her. Shortly after this discussion, she became extremely distant. Her daughter wasn't coming down and hanging out with mine anymore, she had excuses for not getting together. She quit driving me to treatments and stopped staying over. She then dropped a bomb. A sentence that will forever be burned into my psyche: I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term, and I don't think we should see each other any longer. In a text. It broke me. I won't lie. This was the first woman I had ever opened up to and planned a life with since my wife died when my children were 1 and 3. However, I tried to be mature about it. I forced myself to understand her position and to accept what I could not change. I calmly, the next day, gathered all of her things, packed them neatly, loaded them in my truck, and took them to her house to leave on the back porch while she was at work, in order to avoid any awkward exchanges. Walking around the back and under the porch cover, I sat down a box, and saw her in her back living room, on the couch doing the deed with a man that she had introduced to me as a lifelong friend. I had dinner and drinks with this man and his girlfriend. We had gone on vacation with them, as well. I never spoke of the incident with her, and simply sent her a text later, explaining that I would leave her things on my side porch to pick up at her convenience. I discovered 9 months later from his now ex-girlfriend, that they had broken up due to him confessing that he had been sleeping with my partner, dating back to about the time we were finishing drawings on the new home. Now I was heated. At this point, I had finished chemo and radiation for the time being and was feeling healthier. I was going through some much neglected paperwork when I ran across the file that contained $32,680 in unpaid, long overdue invoices, which were promptly sent to my attorney to begin lien proceedings on the home. It turns out that I couldn't have done this a moment too soon because she was set to put her house on the market. Coupled with interest over the course of, what was then, 19 months overdue, the invoices were hefty. That, along with the agreement of settling them when the house was sold and attorney fees, left her with roughly $10,000 after the sale of the home and settling her current mortgage. She promptly had to back out of the purchase of another home and moved in with her oldest daughter, sister-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. She also had to leave her job and begin receiving disability. I ran into her a little over a year ago, and she looked as if she had aged 20 years, and was in the wheelchair we had talked about. We chatted cordially but briefly and I excused myself and went on with my day. A few days later, her younger daughter called me and spoke of my running into her mom, and could we hang out sometime? I gave a vague answer, thanked her for calling in again, went on with my day. The ex then called me a week or so later, and began apologizing for leaving me as she did. Again, cordial but short, I thanked her for calling and hung up. She began texting and this went on for several weeks until once she asked if I could ever see us rekindling what we had, to which I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your back porch? Did you think that lifelong friend brought that over to you from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye. People who have been clinically dead, what did you experience in death? I was dead for 6 minutes. I was lying on the gurney, and I was getting colder. My body started warming up somewhere, and everything became calm and peaceful. I was no longer in pain. All the noise from ER just went away. It was delightful. I was thinking about my daughter, and I was remembering all the things we had done. Slowly it was just black and nothing. There was no knowledge of anything. I explain it as it was before I was born. Then the worst thing in the world is being revived. I started hearing loud noises, I felt this massive pain. Then there was the nastiest stench ever. The smell was like every dead animal had crawled in my nose. The smell was so bad I started vomiting. I remember the doctors turning me on my side and watching my vomit spray on a nurse. Dying was the most pleasant thing I have ever experienced, and being revived was the worst. I'm not sure what happened, and it still freaks me out. My daughter was 4 and developed pneumonia. Her breathing would stop in her sleep, so we took her to the emergency room. She was there for a total of 5 days. For the first 3 days, her health kept deteriorating. And on the 3rd day, my girlfriend got a call that her mother had collapsed and was taken to the hospital. She was without oxygen for 20 minutes and was declared brain dead. That night my daughter woke up and asked about Grandma. No one had said anything to her or in the room with her. We asked her what did she mean. She told us that Grandma came to her in a dream and said it's not your time yet. I'll go for you. Immediately the next day she was almost 100% better. A friend of mine described it as deeply relaxing and that she could feel herself drifting away but was brought back just as she was ready to leave. After that, she embraced life and death. She said she no longer fears death since it was so relaxing to experience. My girlfriend is anaphylactic, triggered by a chemical called salicylate, found in almost every food. In high school, she had her first big reaction, and the school nurses refused to administer her EpiPen, adrenaline shot, until the ambulance arrived. Obviously, having an anaphylactic reaction doesn't give you a lot of waiting time, so by the time the ambulance got to her school, she was in pretty bad shape and barely conscious. The paramedics immediately administered one of her EpiPens, called the nurses effing twats, and loaded her into the ambulance as her mother arrived. She continued to fade, so they gave her a direct injection of adrenaline this time, but still nothing. They give her a second direct injection of adrenaline, and this time, it hits her about 30 seconds later all at once, and her heart fails. She stops breathing, no pulse, nothing. Dead to the world. For about 2 minutes and 46 seconds, she was clinically dead. And the scariest thing is, she saw nothing. She tells me that when you lose consciousness, you can't tell the difference between waves of drowsiness and when your body shuts down. All she saw was the darkness of her eyelids, and it felt like going into an extremely calm sleep where she couldn't hear or feel anything, and she didn't mind it. All despite her mother and the paramedics screaming at her to keep her eyes open and the ambulance was flying towards the hospital. She miraculously just came back to life almost 3 minutes later as they were giving her chest compressions, and the cardiologist that assessed her later stated that all the adrenaline in her body was enough to not only stop her heart but also to restart it with a little help from the paramedic pumping it around. But still, to this day, she can't differentiate falling asleep after a long day and dying.